So welcome to another Empowered webinar, everybody. As you know, these webinars are held monthly with your customer success department. And the customer success department is really just the b-bbee service delivery leg that gets, bolted onto any software license subscription that you take from us. So we're the b-bbee geeks, we always say. So I'm going to take just a few seconds to introduce myself. My name is Matishka. I head up the customer success space for Empowered, and my team's going to introduce themselves.
My name is Celine Gile, and I'm one of the customer success specialists.
Hi, I am Centuri, and I'm a new addition to the customer success team at Empowered.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we're going to obviously speak about the voted topic as from last month's webinar, which was bonus points and enhancers. Bonus points and enhancers are really just to optimize the scorecard. So, all normal b-bbee scorecard rules remain. These are just additions where you can try and, if applicable to your business or applicable to your environment, a way to just enhance those scorecard elements.
Okay, so first up, guys, we've got skills development, and for the purposes of this webinar, we're just going to focus on the bonus points. So for skills development, we've got 5 bonus points for absorption of learners at the end of the measurement period. Okay, so the bonus points for skills relate to the number of learnerships, apprenticeships, and internships that can be absorbed at the end of the learnership program. It measures completed and absorbed unemployed or fixed-term learners as a total of staff. And the target is 5% of total staff. Total staff can be measured as at financial year end or as at verification date, depending on the VA's interpretation. So our system will then look at the data set captured under the management control, and then it will use that as the total number of employees. Just as a note, it is if you also have employed learners making up the learnership target, it's going to be difficult to score full bonus points unless you have learners in excess of the target. Meaning, for an example, if your target is 10 learners, then you need a minimum of 10 unemployed or fixed-term learners, and then the excess can be employed learners. And then bonus points are not included when calculating the 40% sub-minimum.
Okay, the basic evidence for skills development is the tracking tool. So this is a learner tracking system used to monitor your learners, and it is usually in an Excel spreadsheet format containing the learner details, the learner contact details, training program details with the start and end dates. Proof of permanent employment to prove absorption either at the measured entity or at another entity. So we recommend a copy of a signed employment contract and letter of appointment. Copy of certified ID, it is preferable to have a clear color copy. Proof of registration of learnerships, apprenticeships, and internships. So this should be signed agreements signed by the measured entity, the learner, and the SETA. Where the SETA has not signed those learnership agreements, it is best to obtain a SETA confirmation letter confirming the learnership details with the start and end dates. Okay, and then pay slips. So these are requested to validate the salary or stipend costs being claimed. And the EEA1 is the employee declaration form, which is completed by all employees in the entity.
Okay, and now moving on to enterprise and supplier development. Again, we're just going to focus on the bonus points. And for preferential procurement, we've got 2 bonus points for procurement with suppliers that are Black designated groups. The target is 2% of total major procurement spent should be with suppliers that are at least 51% Black designated groups. So you'll see on the certificates, because some certificates would have different formats. Some certificates will show at least 51% Black designated groups, yes or no, and then some would show the actual percentage. And now moving on to enhancers. So for procurement, we also have a 1.2 multiplier for the following suppliers. Supplier development beneficiary that has a 3-year contract, and this needs to be a 3-year procurement contract. And then also for Black-owned QSE and EME, that is not a supplier development beneficiary, but has a 3-year procurement contract. And also 51% Black-owned and or 51% Black women-owned suppliers that also attracts a 1.2 multiplier. You can also claim 51% Black-owned generic suppliers using a flow-through principle as a QSC or an EME, provided they were a QSC or an EME when you started procuring from them. And this is allowed for 5 years from the first date of procurement. Okay, and then moving to bonus points for enterprise and supplier development. Now, here the bonus points are not calculation-based, but are rather a yes or no validation. And then graduation from enterprise development to supplier development level. This is when you start procuring from your enterprise development beneficiary. The graduation can happen in the same measurement or same verification period or at a later stage. Job creation, this is when your ESD beneficiaries are able to create jobs in their organization as a result of your ESD contributions. Again, ESD is a priority element, so when calculating the 40% sub-minimum, the bonus points are not included.
Okay, moving on to the basic evidence for preferential procurement. It is a detailed supplier ledger, so verification agencies usually request for sample suppliers only, and usually in Excel formats. And then a selection of invoices here as well as selected or sampled by a verification agency. The b-bbee certificate or affidavit of the supplier. So this is required to validate the B credentials of those suppliers. And then for first-time supplier, it is the proof of vendor onboarding. So this should reflect a date, and if not, then a signed letter from the head of procurement or procurement manager confirming the date of the first procurement. Okay, and then for enterprise and supplier development, it is an agreement which must be signed by the measured entity and beneficiaries and clearly setting out the nature of the contribution. And then proof of actual contribution. So depending on the type of contribution, this could be invoices and proof of payments. And then proof of payments could be in the form of a bank statement or proof of EFT. And where it is loans, then it's usually a loan agreement is also requested. So for the b-bbee certificate and affidavit of the beneficiary, so this is required to validate the B credentials of the beneficiary. And then letter from the beneficiary. So this is basically a thank you letter from the beneficiary, which must be signed and dated. And then proof of graduation of an enterprise development beneficiary to a supply development. It's always best to check with the verification agency on what documents they require. However, it is usually proving that they are on your supply or vendor listing or a supply invoice should be sufficient. And then for job creation, a letter from the beneficiary confirming the job creation was a direct result of the contribution made. And here as well, it must be signed and dated.
Okay, guys. So what we've definitely found was that when we, these webinars, as I mentioned at the beginning, are content-based and they voted upon by you, by our clients. And when we actually got into the gist of the bonus points and the enhancers, we found that obviously they were only applicable to the skills development and the ESD element, and so it was quite quickly, to be able to go through some of that content. Okay, first question in from Leseko, thank you. Please explain the absorption target again.
Okay, so for the absorption, we know that the the target is 5% of total headcount. So like we were saying, if you are interested in getting the full 5 bonus points, then you will need, if you also have employed learners making up your target, then you will need to have learners in excess of the target if you want to get the full 5 points. Because remember, your employed learners are employed, so you can absorb them. So like I said, for example, if your target is that you need 10 learners, then you need a minimum of 10 unemployed or fixed term learners in order for you to get the full 5 bonus points. So if you also have employed learners, then the employed learners will need to be the excess of what is your target.
Yeah. And just to add on to what Slee is saying, I think, there's always some interesting interpretations in the BEE world generally out there. What we're finding with that absorption target is that there was seemingly a change. I think the girls can correct me if I'm wrong, but sometime last year, where UNIL had sent out an email to all the verification agencies clarifying the target for absorption at 5% of total staff. Whereas previously, people were generally looking at your absorbed based on a target of the LAIs, your learnerships, apprenticeships, or internships that had completed those learnerships, apprenticeships, or internships at the time. So they were measuring who they've absorbed based on who had completed those learning interventions, whereas that change sort of caused quite some grumpy reactions in the industry, because it then, like Slee is saying, it became very hard to earn full points in a sense, especially for the larger organizations that have hundreds, if not thousands, of staff members. Definitely racked that target up considerably. And so thank you for your time. We enjoy always spending time with you at Empowered, and you always, again, have access to your customer success specialist. Each client of ours have their own dedicated account managers, and then you also have access to the support channels, which is live chat, phone, and email. In the event that you can't get a hold of your account manager, maybe they are in another meeting or whatever the case is. So if there is anything, please reach out to us. We are here to support you. It's as simple as that. Other than that, have a good day, everyone.